you are kind of setting in growth somewhere in your entire system. As such, growing old is mandatory. After a point of time, I will definitely have gray strands of hair. I will have wrinkles. Yes, it is mandatory. It would happen. But growing up in life, growing up in life, being curious, learning new things, placing self development above any other thing, I think that is your own personal choice, which is so very important. And keeping this in mind, we are here presenting this very unique series, which is called as the Personal Development Webinar. And today, it's my honor to introduce one of the speakers who would be there for this session. But let me first quickly tell something about her. Well, she's a stalwart leader. She's been there in Herbalife for 25, almost 25 years. She joined in December 1999. If you talk about her background, well, she is an IT, she was an IT professional, computer hardware, software engineer, but then there were better things in store for her because she always focused on becoming a better version of herself. She's been on world stages, on national stage, and her focus as a leader is to create more leaders and to build people because people in turn will build business. So, all the ladies and gentlemen on this call, please put your hands together. Hang on, hang on. This is another way to welcome her. Wait. All right. What you can do is like, I have enabled the emojis. Yes, with a heart symbol. Please welcome International Executive Presence Team 20K, Madhavi Shetty. Madhavi ma'am, over to you.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much, Kapil, for this warm and exciting welcome. So, sabhi ka swagat hai. I'm going to be speaking today in English. And as Mr. Kapil already announced, we are going to have translation for benefit of everyone in 6 different languages. Today, I am especially very excited to share the stage, this online stage, with my co-speaker who has a very interesting background, and she's here to train our India leadership about various soft skills and various aspects which can really help us in business. But even before I introduce and invite her on the call, I would really like to welcome all the attendees, especially our brand new TAP team members who have recently joined this elite group. So congratulations and welcome everyone on this call. I do understand there will be a lot of experienced leaders on this call, but definitely the flow and the content and the purpose of this entire session is to guide each one of us to enhance our own daily skills, soft skills, which can in turn help us in big way in business. Now, just to let you know, when I joined Herbalife opportunity, Herbalife community, the very first thing which really attracted me about Herbalife was, when it was introduced that it is a tri-leaf logo, and our three leaves of the logo, tri-leaf denotes, of course, that is what we are going to talk about, but it denotes health improvement, it denotes wealth improvement and personal improvement. And definitely, this is all the three things which are in store for the leadership. And like how we today say, live your best life. So we are blessed, we are fortunate that Herbalife allows us to get these advantages apart from improving health for us and our family and financial health. We can also do a tremendous personal improvement. And in this series of personal development, today we are precisely going to talk about image building and brand building. So during next session, which will go on till 6 p.m., we are going to be definitely talking about different aspects about image building, about brand building. We're going to talk about definitely appearance and dressing as leader, how you can enhance your look better, look more confident. Okay. We're going to talk about body language as well. There are different modules, there are different subtopics that we're going to do during this session. And we are going to talk about improving and enhancing communication. We are going to talk about how to be better prepared when we travel with Herbalife, whether in other cities or in other countries. Of course, we are going to talk about how we can have a better public speaking presence in online and offline scenarios. We are also going to talk about how to do better personal branding, especially for all of us when we are present on social media in some or other form. Okay, so I understand all of you are excited to learn on these interesting topics. And to remind you, please get your notebooks and pen handy, because today we are going to write a lot of important points. And this, like, what I learned in Herbalife from various trainers and my mentor, small things make big difference. Okay, so there are small things about business, about our daily routine, about our behavior, about communication that we're going to pick up today, that can in turn make huge difference in our business by helping us to polish and get better, better version of ourselves. All right, so before I introduce our amazing, next trainer on this call, I just want to remind you about a very special sentence of our founder, Mark Hughes. Okay, and this is something which I always remind myself, and this is something that I learned in my very first training. Attitude comes before check. Okay, so everyone on this call, I want to remind that all of you are doing amazing. You are leaders of your organization, leaders from different cities, regions, all across India. And some of you are already, living your best life, and you already achieved your dreams and goals. And now you're thinking bigger and beyond what you originally started with. So here I want to remind you that no matter how much ever we have grown in this business, we all can do better. And we are fortunate that Herbalife, corporate Herbalife leadership arranges trainings like this to help us, fine tune even further and better. Okay, so let's get ready. Just a important reminder, the sentence from Jim Rohn I must mention here, because when it's about personal development, I cannot imagine saying or thinking beyond Mark Hughes and Jim Rohn trainings that you have really learned so much from. So success is something that you attract, that we attract by becoming the person. Okay, so all of us are here, and I'm sure every day I personally work on becoming better and becoming my best version, and doing my best every single day, right? So let us get ready to invite our my co-speaker, our trainer on the screen, next trainer on the screen. And we are going to be doing this session throughout. There will be different topics, and we both will be interacting. But I can definitely mention I'm bringing in someone here on this call who comes from huge background, huge experience in the field of image consulting. She's a she has done trainings for individuals and organizations many across India and all around the world. Especially, just to mention a quick update about this very special personality. She has done post graduation in mass communication, 17 years of experience in this field, and definitely she is bringing a lot of value to this training with her content. So let's get ready to write lots of notes from someone who has a vast experience in image consulting and brand building, and also she's a certified NLP practitioner, not just a certified image consultant. Okay, and of course more she is going to share. So let us invite our trainer Sonia Pardesi on this call. Sonia, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, Madhavi, for the beautiful introduction. I must say it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be facilitating this session for so many people who are literally stalwarts in the industry, and you are promoting health and wellness. And I think that's the best thing that one can actually do in today's day and age. So thank you so much for having me over. I really look forward to facilitating the session today. I'm just going to quickly share my screen for everyone to see. And like Madhavi said, we are going to be co-facilitating this session, and there's going to be a lot of discussion around all the topics that we are going to be talking about. Madhavi, if you could just confirm, I hope you can see my screen. Great. Super. So, so we are going to be talking about image building. We are going to be talking about so many different modules. And just to give you a perspective, we have kept the last 15 to 20 minutes for a Q&A. So if you have any thoughts to share, or if you have any questions, you can feel free to ask. And I'm sure Madhavi and I would be very happy to address them. So, I would like to start my presentation with something very interesting. Of course, Madhavi and Kapil literally said the same thing that I'm going to be talking about, which is bang on, which is about transformation, right? We all are looking from time to time at transforming ourselves, right? I think the most important thing is that we need to keep evolving as individuals, as human beings. And I'm certain that we all are, a lot of us come from varied backgrounds, from different walks of life, with a lot of experience. And I feel that at the end of the day, we should all look at constantly absorbing things like sponges, right? Like new things, new concepts, new skill sets, right? And the more we learn, the more we are getting better in life. So at the end of the day, like they very rightly said, are we looking through these sessions to become better versions of ourselves and lead better versions of our lives? You're in that industry where you're talking about health and wellness. Or do you want to project a new you to the outside world? Do you want to reinvent yourself? And I think that is so important, because whether you want to reinvent yourself or you want to present a better version of your life, both these aspects are extremely important, right? Because you want to learn, you want to work on yourself, whether it's your personality traits, it's your personal style, the way you're presenting yourself to the outside world, because at the end of the day, you all are brand ambassadors with regard to your organization, right? So today's session is primarily going to be on appearance, right? Like Madhavi rightly said, we are going to be talking a little bit in terms of dressing, styling, a little bit of how grooming is also important, as well as your behavior, right? In terms of body language, in terms of communication skills, in terms of public speaking. I think these are very interesting topics which a lot of us are exposed to, whether it's in the domestic front or whether we travel international. So one of the most important aspects, which I'm going to dive into, the first and foremost thing is the importance of appearance, right? You'll be very intrigued to know that 83% of your communication is visual, and that is solely on the basis of your appearance. That is your clothing, your grooming, and then later on comes body language and etiquette and communication skills. Please remember one thing, that whether we have how many ever years of experience, at the end of the day, our image, the way we are projecting ourselves to the outside world, is either going to make or it's going to break the deal, right? So your image is you in the eyes and minds of others. You are assessed, you are evaluated, you are judged based on the image that you project or reflect. So as much as a lot of us come from a certain background, a certain knowledge type, or certain skill sets, or a certain upbringing, and we might be already aware of certain things, but when it comes to presentation skills, we need to move with the times, with the trends, and then accordingly style our look, and also keep in mind the company's dressing protocol, because we all want to project an image that is consistent to the brand value of the company, right? So one thing that I would love to delve into is what we call as self-concept. And that is one of the basis, or one of the most basic aspects of image management that we talk about, right? Your self-concept is all about your body image. And since you all are in the health and wellness industry, it's so important to be very confident about your physical selves, right? As much as we say that, yes, you have to maintain a healthy lifestyle, it's important to do all the right things, work out, everything, but you need to accept your bodies for the way they are. Now, when you have a very strong and a very positive body image, then we can look at what is called as self-image. Now, self-image is nothing but how do you perceive your inner self, right? Like, do you look at yourself as somebody who's confident, who's passionate, who's very, very positive, who's kind, intelligent, beautiful, or handsome? Now, I'm only talking about positives because on a day-to-day basis, no matter what challenges we face in our lives, we have to feel very good from within, because that's how we are going to be able to go out there and conquer the world. Right? Then when the self-image is well in place, we can talk about what is called as self-esteem. Now, self-esteem is nothing but self-worth. When you look at somebody, look at yourself as somebody who is extremely worthy and somebody who is somebody to reckon with, your self-esteem is high, then we can look at what is called as self-confidence. Now, your self-confidence is nothing but trust in yourself, right? And that is why when we look at people and we say that this person stands tall, it means that they are so sure of themselves that automatically their shoulders become erect, right? And they are able to confidently deal with the outside world. The next most important aspect is self-competence. So we all are born with certain abilities, but skill sets are what we develop in the course of our lives, in the course of our existence, in the course of our personal lives or professional lives. The ultimate aim that we want to achieve is what is called as self-actualization. That is the goal. And what is self-actualization? Self-actualization is nothing but being in a stage of absolute nirvana, where you feel so satisfied with yourself, you're so content with yourself, even though you still have more goals to achieve, but you still are very happy, you're in a happy place. And that should be the ultimate goal that we all should aim at achieving. So moving on, like I said earlier, self-concept, and the other aspect which is very important to look at is what is called as image cycle. Right? Now, image cycle is how we see our inner selves. Like I told you, do you look at your inner self in a positive manner? That affects the way you dress and groom yourself, which in turn affects the way you think, feel, act, or behave, which in turn affects the way others react or respond to you. So the moment you feel positive, you dress positive, you automatically are extremely confident, and automatically people are mirroring the same energies back to you. Right? So anything that you wear or do not wear, do or do not do, still communicates. So one thing we all should keep in mind is that you cannot not communicate. For that, you literally have to switch off the lights and sit in a dark room, right? Also, there is nothing called as neutral clothing. You can't wear the same garment for different occasions. One is to your workplace, to a brunch, to a party, or to a wedding. You need to be remembering one thing, that you need to think about the theme, the occasion, the situation, and the activity, and then dress and style yourself accordingly. Now, why are visuals so important? Because I'm constantly talking about, hey, 85%, 80 to 83, 85% of your communication is visual, right? Why are visuals so important? Because of the fact that the human memory is photographic, right? And most of the human beings are visual creatures. So whatever they see is what they imprint in their memory, right? So that is why whenever you've met somebody many years ago, you would probably remember their faces. You might remember their the dress that they were wearing. You might not remember their names, because whatever you've seen, it's imprinted in your memory, right? So that is why you have to remember one thing, that whenever you're meeting somebody for the first time, you are creating an impression, a first impression in their minds within a span of 3 to 5 seconds. So you need to make sure that it is a positive one, right? So how do you present an appearance that is attractive, right? Always make sure that you keep these aspects in mind. It's important to dress as per your body shape. It's important to dress as per your personal colors, that is your hair color, eye color, cheek color, and lip color. It's important to accessorize. Now, this is very important for ladies, to accessorize and wear makeup as per your face shape. And of course, make sure that your grooming and your personal hygiene is on point. Now, accessorizing holds true even for men. I always talk about styling your look in a different way. Look at your personality type. You like to dress dramatic, bring in nice fun pocket squares, bring in nice ties, bring in cufflinks, bring in happy socks, and play around with your look. It's just about dressing differently for different occasions. Now, I'm just going to run you all through how to dress. This is for both men and women, how to dress for different occasions. And we'll start off with women. Now, when it comes to work, You can either do the Indo-Western look. You can wear a nice long jacket with cigarette pants and a nice contrasting stole, or like the image suggests, you can wear a sari with a nice jacket or a shacket, right? Shacket is in between a shrug and a jacket. Or you can do the quintessential, the trousers or the pants with a jacket, or you can do a dress, or you can do a long skirt. If you like Western clothing, you can do either a knee length or a calf length skirt with a nice jacket and a blouse. Now, when it comes to a casual luncheon, of course, a casual luncheon is about being casual. So you can always do a trouser and a blouse. You can do either a jumpsuit. You can do a kurta with palazzos, or you can do a blouse, pant, and jacket. Now, when it comes to a business luncheon which demands a certain level of formality, or you can be dressing up in a semi-formal manner, you can always do different variants of jackets and skirts, or you can do jackets and denims, or you can do jackets and pants, depending on the occasion, right? Depending on how formal the occasion is, accordingly you need to dress up. Or you can even do a nice sari with a blouse with it which is collared, or you can do a blouse and a skirt. Now, when it comes to a formal dinner, again, you can do an embellished blouse with a sari if you want to go the Indian way, or you can do different variants of dresses. These can be knee-length dresses, these can be long maxi dresses, and you can play around with the fabrics. Now, this is with regard to dressing for women. Now, when it comes to men, again, at the end of the day, you want to look sharp. So you can play around with the colors of your jacket, especially at your workplace. You can bring in pocket squares. I always talk about ties because I feel that you should look at tie as an accessory because it's just going to uplift your look and it's going to make you look different. It's also going to bring in the interesting, fun element, right? Especially if you bring in a nice bright colored tie or a bright colored pocket square. You can also do, depending on the weather condition in your city, you can either wear a shirt with a cardigan and a jacket as well. Now, the idea being at the end of the day, the way you are dressing up from head to toe, right from your shoes to any accessories that you're bringing in together, the entire look should be harmonious. Now, for a casual luncheon, you can do a nice checkered shirt with a cardigan and chinos, or you can do different variants of shirts, again, fitted based on your body shape, and you can team it up with either denims or you can team them up with chinos. Now, when it comes to a business luncheon, again, different variants of jackets, different colors. You can bring in pocket squares, again, play around with the combinations, especially if it is like a day affair and it's pretty hot. You can also bring in a linen match suit with a nice contrasting tie and a pocket square. Or you can just do the regular shirt with a cardigan and pants or trousers. Now, when it comes to a formal dinner, okay, we also have the option of either a tuxedo or a nice Jodhpur, or if you want to go the dramatic way, you can bring in a nice polka dotted shirt and team it up with a white jacket. Again, depending on your personality type and your personal style, right? You can always go for it. Just make sure that everything along with your shoes are on point. Now, one of the important aspects that I always keep talking about when it comes to clothing is that the way you bring in your colors speaks volumes, communicates the right kind of a message, right? So especially if you want to come across as somebody who is very, very assertive, very credible, very serious, then you will choose dull muted colors. But having said that, especially when you want to bring in a bit of a hint of approachability, a hint of an easygoing nature, and considering that you all are in the wellness industry, you would want to bring in a bit of color, which you can bring in the form of accessories. Just make sure that the ratio of the bright contrasting color is lesser in comparison to the dull muted color, right? So you can bring it, like ladies can wear nice accessories like neck pieces or scarves, depending on the personal style. And the men can bring in pocket squares or ties, which are in contrasting colors, right? Or even a contrasting collar with a shirt. Again, it all depends on you. So this is the most important aspect when it comes to dressing. So think about your body shape, your personal color, and your personal style. And then you need to dress according to also the dressing protocol of the company that you are working with. So I'm going to hand it over to Madhavi, who's also going to share her perspective when it comes to the clothing aspect. I would love to hear your thoughts, and something that is of course in association with Herbalife as a company. So over to you.
Thank you, Sonia. I mean, there is so much to talk about on this subject.
Yes.
But from Herbalife business point of view, I would like to add that about appearance, there are two factors as leaders of Herbalife we need to look at. First is our body shape. And as you said that, yes, of course, we have to do the best based on our shape in terms of dressing as per our comfort and our style. But one thing that we all need to constantly remind ourselves that our work is to do with duplication. So whatever we are doing, it gets duplicated in our team. So if we as a leader, if we are not in the great shape and we are not really taking care, that self-care and self-love hashtag, which has been talked about so much in social media, we live by that. That is our way of living. So absolutely, it is important to be leading by example in the way we maintain our health and our shape, so that we can really enjoy wearing different style of clothing and feel confident whenever we are wearing anything. I think my personal experience, and I'm sure Sonia you will agree, sometimes people go out and buy very expensive clothing, but if you are not in great shape, you are still not happy after spending a bomb of money on clothes.
Yes.
And when you are in great shape, when you're confident about your body, what you're wearing, even simplest clothes look so attractive because you can carry it so well. You feel confident. There is that poise. You walk like a peacock when you are wearing, you are well dressed and you're confident about your body. So absolutely, as a wellness coach, and not just coach, we are all wellness leaders in the industry. So one aspect of our clothing is we need to work constantly, stay alert on our own health progress and health journey, and focusing on that aspect of maintaining a better shape all the time, becoming our best version and achieving that level 10 result for health, energy and fitness. Beyond it, one thing that I learned when I joined this community is always dress like your next level. So in our business, that there are levels. So those who are get team members, while you are a global expansion team member, the next level for you probably is get to 5 or millionaire team, which is our hierarchy. So always look at the leaders who are more experienced and who have been on stage, and how they dress when they come and speak in public events on stage. Learning from people who are more experienced within our community, and learning and copying the right style which suits your kind of personality, not to blindly copy anyone, because our personal style can be different, what we are comfortable sometimes. In order to look smart or modern, sometimes I see some people wear some clothes which they are not comfortable walking and moving in with. So it's very important to dress which is to your comfort level, but it matches your professional image, and not to overdo on trying to look smart or modern. Okay, so that is one thing, one area I feel that we need to feel comfortable in our skin. Whatever we are wearing, if we can carry it well, whether it is man or a woman, okay, it's absolutely necessary. And last but not the least, I would like to mention also is pay attention to your appearance, because I learned when I joined in the very first year from our one of our mentors who came from for an international event. He said we get paid for looking good, and that's it. It's absolutely important in a industry like us. We need to make an effort to look good, whether we are in online meeting, whether we are going for a physical event, and we need to always make that effort to look put together. Sometimes it can become boring and you are not in that mood, and you just don't want any attention. But it's like big boss, camera is on, people are observing us. People, even whether you like it or not, I think everyone loves attention and recognition. But people are observing us, they're watching, their eyes on us all the time. So making that effort to look good, because people are learning, they are expecting that leaders, they are looking for you, their eyes searching for you all the time. So it's important that we make that effort to really appear whether online and offline events in the best possible energy, smile, looks, and presence. So yes, that's what I feel. And Sonia, I think the next topic is even more interesting, which is about body language. And I'm eager to see your presentation. So we can head back ahead. Thank you, Sonia.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for your perspective. Yes, it's very important to maintain an image that is appropriate as well as authentic to your personality type, right? Something that you're also comfortable wearing. Yeah, that's great perspective, Madhavi. And I think I'm sure that because we are both from the similar industry, I would say, wellness, we are constantly on our toes to look good, to feel good, right? Because we have to practice what we preach, right? So, yes, like you said, the most interesting topic of today is body language, and body language is literally the biggest visual, biggest format of visual communication. And the way you are presenting your gestures, your postures, it plays such an important role in communicating the person that you are. So there is a very interesting theory, which is by Albert Mehrabian. So he was a UCLA psychologist. So what he did was he did a research and he took into account only facial expressions. Now, if you were to take into account only facial expressions, 55% of your communication is visual, right? 38% is on the basis of your voice. It's vocal, right? Your sound, your pitch, the way you modulate your voice, right? And 7% is the words that you speak. So at the end of the day, it's not important about what you say, but how you say, which is important, right? Also, if you were to look at just the visual communication aspect, 55% of your communication is visual. So again, that's only on the basis of your facial expressions. So your facial expressions, communicate so much, because literally our face is capable of producing 250,000 unique movements, right? So do you see, it's important that especially when you're in an industry where you are dealing with a lot of people, you need to be able to emote in the right manner. Also, the way you are sitting, the way you are standing, it communicates a lot about you. So, for example, if somebody is facing us and, they've sat with their, quietly with their hands loosely folded in the lap, it just shows that a feeling of anticipation and interest has been created, right? Whereas when somebody has actually folded their arms and they are sitting cross-legged, it just shows that they are being inflexible. They could be probably closed. They could be nervous, right? I'm not letting you into my space. I'm not also going to get into your space. Right? Now, some of the things that we should always keep in mind, especially when we are walking into a room, and this is something that I do out of personal experience, especially when I'm giving a talk or I'm delivering a presentation, I make sure that whenever I walk into a room, I try to first make friends with that room, right? Because it's all about the energy. The moment you make friends with that room, you're also feeling automatically comfortable. When you walk in, you need to stand, you need to sit, ultimately, you need to walk tall, you need to have a purposeful, balanced stride. Also, it's important that you need to, even when you're sitting, you need to sit with your, your stomach, which is in, or even when you're standing. So automatically your spine gets erect. And when you walk into the room, survey the room, enter composed, confident, have a purposeful, balanced stride. Make eye contact with the people who are there. The moment you make eye contact, it also shows respect to the other person. And it's important to keep an impression or have an impression or expression that is pleasant, positive, open, and receptive. And it's important to smile from time to time, right? Now, one of the very interesting aspects of body language is called as mirroring. Now, mirroring is what we actually do at a very subconscious level. So a lot of us have been following these gestures and postures subconsciously. But from today onwards, we're going to start being very conscious about how we are reading the right kind of body language in other people and how are we also emanating the right gestures and postures, right? Now, when it comes to mirroring, mirroring is nothing but what we call as monkey see, monkey do, right? So we tend to, like how you had said, right, Madhavi, you had said earlier that, it's nice to look at role models. You look at role models, dress up the way they dress up, follow their gestures, follow the posture, and we need to keep evolving in that manner. So look at the people whom you admire, look at the role models, look at some of the women can look at the women who dress up in the right manner, or men can look at the gestures of a good orator, the way he's speaking, how confident he is. So that's how you're going to build on yourself. You're going to also build on your personality. Also, this in so many ways enables you to gain acceptance or build rapport with the people around you. Now, one of the basic examples of mirroring is also when somebody in front of you goes and stubs their toe against probably a door, you flinch. So that is because of the mirror neurons in your brain, right? Because you are automatically imitating or mirroring the feelings that they are feeling, right? That is one of the aspects of mirroring. The other is to just follow how your seniors behave. And when you do that, when you incorporate it, when you internalize, that's how you're going to build on yourself. So other than mirroring, one of the other important aspects that we need to always keep in mind is proxemics. Proxemics is nothing but the distance that we maintain in our interactions with people, right? So of course you have firstly the intimate one, which is basically just 2 fists away. When people are very close, they stand very close to each other. Personal is typically also in your work environment, which is about 1 handshake away. That is the distance that you maintain with people whom in friendly gatherings, with friends, with acquaintances, with peers. Then you have the social distance that you maintain, which is about 2 arm lengths away. Now, that is the distance that you maintain, especially maybe in networking meets or with people that you don't know. You will maintain a certain amount of a distance. And then you have public. Public is over 3.6 meters away. So that is a distance that you will maintain, especially when you're addressing a gathering of people, right? Like the people that you don't know at all. So distance is extremely important in your association with people, because if you're standing too far, that also creates a bit of awkwardness. If you're standing too close, that can also be very awkward. So maintain the right distance in your interactions with people. Now, how do you come across as someone who's very open and confident, right? When you're talking, speak with your hands wide open, make eye contact, smile. Also, when you are interacting with someone, when you lean forward a little bit, it just shows that you're interested in conversing with them. Also, stand straight. Now, this is a question that is posed to me many a times by men who are like, where am I supposed to keep my hands? Should I keep my hands in my pockets? No, you don't have to. Your hands are not going to fall off. You can just keep your hands straight, or if you would like to use your hands while conversing in the form of gestures, you can do the same. Now, when do you come across as someone who's indifferent, especially when your legs are crossed, or when you're shaking one foot, or you're glancing at the exit, you're yawning, or you're fidgeting? Now, some of the things that show a lot about you, some of the gestures, some of the postures, right? The positioning of the head also plays a very important role, right? So especially when somebody is talking to you or they're making a presentation, if your head is positioned just straight, that just shows that you have a neutral attitude towards what they are talking about. Now, interested would be when your head is tilted. That means you're also trying to evaluate what they are talking about to you. The next is disapproval. So if somebody is giving you the power gaze, when they are tilting their head down and they are staring at you, that means they are disapproving of what you're saying. So always be mindful in observing how people are reacting to you. Now, defensiveness is especially when you have crossed your arms in different forms. So you have the standard arm cross, you have the partial arm cross. Then a lot of people also do what is called as the disguised barrier, right? Because they don't want to let people into their space. So women will probably use a purse or a bag or maybe a clutch. Men will fiddle with their watches, right? Because they just probably want to create that barrier. They don't would want to allow anyone to their space. Now, especially when your arms are crossed, right, with the fist closed, again, very defensive. If it's with the fist, with the thumbs up, that shows defensiveness along with coolness. Now, frustration gesture is when somebody, especially when you walk into somebody's office and they are sitting like this, it just shows that Their hands are clenched in the raised position, difficult to handle. They are holding back a negative attitude. Now, hands clenched in the middle position, of course, it's a frustration gesture, but at the same time, they are willing to understand where you are coming from. And the hands clenched in the lower position, it just shows that, yeah, there is frustration, but yeah, they are willing to listen to you. Now, the raised steeple is again a very interesting gesture which shows superiority. And I don't know if you have noticed this, especially when people are also talking, this is also it's a centering gesture, right? So this happens a lot between manager and subordinates when the manager is probably giving a talk to his subordinate or maybe a lecture. So that is the raised steeple. And then you have the lowered steeple. So this is when somebody is sitting and when they have delivered a talk and when they are ready to listen to thoughts and questions coming their way. Now, deception. Now, these are very interesting things that we all should keep in mind. And it's good to read that in people. Now, especially when somebody is telling a lie, this happens again inadvertently or subconsciously. They automatically touch their nose. So they're rubbing their nose, touching their nose, scratching their nose. You can be well assured that they are probably lying to you. Now, for example, when you're talking to somebody and they have covered their mouth, probably they do not believe you, right? This happens when they feel that you're being untruthful. Now, the eye rub, the ear rub, and the neck scratch are also gestures of uncertainty. So they are again not very sure about what you're saying. So especially when you're talking to them and they're going to do any of these things, it just shows that they're going to be uncertain. So be very mindful, right? So you need to tweak your talk accordingly, right? So that they ultimately start believing what you're trying to say. Now, evaluation gestures are when you are sitting like this, that is evaluation. When you have just like literally rested your entire cheek onto your hand or palm, that shows that you're bored, the person is bored. Negative thoughts is again when they are actually staring at you. And then you have the chin stroking evaluation gestures when people are trying to decide. Okay. Now we have the leg cross. Now the leg cross, of course, is pretty much standardized, especially amongst men and women across Europe. The leg lock position is most common in the US, but in Arab countries, pointing of the feet is considered as an insult. So be very mindful of that. The leg lock position with the arms, which are positioned the way it's shown in the image down below, is again when the person is ready for an argument, right? Now, ankle to ankle cross is a very demure way of sitting for women, especially when you are wearing a skirt or a dress. Now, always remember that, especially in a professional scenario, it's always best to avoid any of these positions besides the ankle to ankle cross. Standard leg cross is not considered very formal. You can always sit with your legs parallel, especially when you are in a meeting. Now, handshakes again can literally make or break a deal. So it's very important that you keep in mind that whenever you're shaking hands with people, you're always doing what is called as a firm handshake, right? Like a web-to-web firm grip. Avoid giving sweaty palms. Avoid doing the double-handed handshake, which is also called as the politician's handshake. Avoid giving the limp or the dead fish handshake, because that just shows that you're not very confident. Always remember one thing, ladies and men, in a business scenario, it is a gender neutral scenario where men and women are treated alike. So both men and women can offer their hands for a handshake, and it has to be firm. And also it can be in the process of your introduction. So first, while you're talking, you all are introducing yourselves, you're smiling, you're making eye contact, you shake the hands 1, 2, 3 times and then leave. We should not be having lingering handshakes. So handshakes again are something to be really practiced, and you have to make sure that it is firm and not bone crushing. So this is all about the body language aspect. Over to you, Madhavi. I would love to hear your perspective on body language and the different aspects associated with it.
Wow. There is so much of learning from every small gesture and posture that we learned, and I'm sure people are writing notes. everyone on this call, I just want to add something from our business perspective. And
Right.
definitely, we meet a lot of people on a daily basis. A lot of them are those who are already in our consumer base or our
Yes.
team, our network of people. Beyond it, we meet new people also. Every day on a daily basis, we meet a lot of new potential clients. So
Yes.
here I would like to mention about body language, that we got a lot of tips, but in general, in our events, whether it is customer events or our business events, whether physical or also online,
Yes.
being present and your presence with right energy and excitement matters. Okay, so while we are sitting in the training, especially physical training that I'm talking about, and also on in the online sessions, how you sit also, that matters. Of course, right posture we got, but from the alertness point of view, I would like to say this is what I learned from my mentor David. So while you sit on the edge of the chair, like sit not leaning back, because that shows that you are interested in learning. Also, that puts you in that mentally alert position to learn. And
Yes.
sometimes when you're feeling low energy at some point of time, while you're sitting erect, you can grasp and you can absorb better. Okay, so while we are sitting in the training, especially leaders sit in front. So while we are sitting, people behind, our teams are behind us because of the sitting hierarchy. Higher pins are sitting ahead. They're watching you. Okay, so while you're sitting in your seat, if you are like trying to be idle and you are trying to check your mobile, people are observing. Okay, so what we do, and people who are in president team level like me, we have been to hundreds of events, and still we sit in an event with a notebook and a pen and we're writing notes. Okay, so following the culture and the protocol, and not because it's a compulsory thing, but to respect the learning, because every person, like today we are learning from Sonia, every person who comes, they have their set of experience, and we can get value from everybody who's coming around on stage. So
Absolutely.
actually taking notes and sitting with the intention of learning and getting best out of any event that we go, it really matters. Apart from sitting and
बहुत बहुत
attending
ही
training,
जरूरी है। ये
overall
सिर्फ
when we
ट्रेनिंग
meet
के
people,
लिए नहीं है।
that maintaining that
फिजिकल
distance is
डिस्टेंस
very
की जब
important,
बात
because
नहीं आती है,
in our kind of business we get all
हमारे
people with their
बिजनेस में
family to
बहुत
come
सारे
in,
लोग ऐसे
and
आते
people
हैं,
do bring their circle of influence, and then husbands will bring their wives and
अपने पति
sisters,
आते
and
हैं,
so many
बहन को
women
लेके
come,
आते हैं,
men
बहुत
and
सारी
women, and
महिला
there
आती
are different religions, different cultures, different type of people from different backgrounds. So while we meet variety of people, we have to be sensitive to people's cultural preferences, and not everyone, like handshake is great thing, and I personally love to do a firm handshake. But then there are some people who will not bring the hand forward, they will just do namaste, because that is not what is acceptable way for them probably. So being mindful about the fact that there will be variety of people, and being sensitive to their preferences, and still communicating, that you are welcoming them to the community or family, and communicating what you need to communicate as leader, that is absolutely important. So about body language, yes, maintain that safe distance and make people feel comfortable. About handshake, one thing I noticed, people overall are more excited in the events. So while you do firm handshake, don't do bone breaking handshakes, because I see a lot of men come with excitement, and then they do really strong, too strong handshake on women. So please be mindful about that. Beyond it, taking photos, we take a lot of pictures in the event. So please make sure that you take permission when you are taking photos with higher pins, because if you do it, your people will do the same. So take permission, especially if there is a guest speaker, and if there is qualification required to take a picture with that person, okay, for the guest speaker of the event. So especially in that event, when there is a qualification required, please do not bring your people to take pictures, or don't take picture if you are not qualified. They are very small things, but this is important part. Even while taking photo, body language, don't go too close. If it's a lady, if she's not comfortable, try to understand that and maintain that professional distance, and take picture. Don't try to put hands on shoulder of senior leaders. They are not your friends. Respect that, respect people's seniority, right? So this is what I would like to say, that maintaining the right approach while we deal with different types of people, whether they're seniors, juniors, new people, company staff. We meet a lot of people. Respecting them, treating everyone with respect, and making people feel comfortable. That is duty of leaders, because our people are constantly observing. Okay, so please be mindful what we do. And I think this is in general, Sonia, but I look forward for next part of your session. So let's go ahead.
Thank you, Madhavi. Like you very rightly said, a leader is someone who leads by example, right? And somebody who is maintaining the right kind of gesture, posture, and the right kind of mannerisms is also going to have so many people following him or her. And I think it's so important to be mindful in the way we present ourselves, and also respect all the different cultures that exist and people who come from different walks of life. So moving on, the next segment is, of course, what we call as business communication. At the end of the day, are we communicating effectively, right? Now, of course, communication process, if you were to look at the standardized way, so there are so many different ways and means we communicate with, right? Like we communicate with people via messages, through interpersonal communication. It can be intrapersonal communication. It can be organizational. It can be over email. But at the end of the day, whoever is the sender, they are formulating the message, converting it, sending it to the receiver in a manner that the receiver should be able to interpret the message in the right manner. And only when the receiver interprets it and sends feedback, then the message, the entire communication process is considered complete, right? So at the end of the day, we are all in a line of work where we speak a lot, right? So whether we are selling a product, whether we are talking about a wellness brand, all of us, since we are in this industry, everybody loves the sound of their voices, right? We love to speak. It becomes a part of our DNA. But at the end of the day, are we listening enough? Are we listening or are we hearing? Now, there is a wide difference between the two, right? So hearing is just a physical process. You're hearing sounds, you're hearing the birds chirping. You can probably hear the traffic. You can hear a lot of, so there's so much of clutter that is happening. Listening is nothing but a physical and a mental process which requires active listening. So it's a learned skill, right? It's a learned process, and it has to be acquired over time. Now, at the end of the day, listening is very hard because you need to be very patient. You need to be very alert. You need to be extremely attentive. But one biggest advantage of listening well is the fact that you can build a rapport with people because you earn the respect from people. People start really loving interacting with you because you're always listening to them. The more you show interest in their life, in their work, in what they do and what they have to say, people would really want to associate more and more with you. And especially if you are a wellness coach and you're talking about a wellness brand, you should always want to hear the other side of the story as well, right? Why do we listen less? Because of the fact that, sadly enough, we are in a day and age where there are so many distractions. We have phones, we have laptops, we have the television, we have so many things happening. We have to multitask. Although I'm not someone who really promotes multitasking, because what happens is you're not able to focus on one task at hand, right? So endless distractions, multitasking makes us listen less. Now, these are, of course, the listening blocks. So what are the ultimate steps in order to start listening well, in order to start responding to people, in order to understand people better? Always remember, whenever you're a good listener, you will learn so much from people. You will learn so much, especially you learn about cultures, you learn about the psychology, about personality traits. And I think it's a very good quality to have. So some of the steps to good listening would be, first and foremost, remove all the distractions. So especially when you are interacting with either a bunch of people or with one person, you have to make sure that you don't have, like Madhavi very rightly said, do not have your phones in front of you, right? Keep your phone aside. Keep any sort of engagement that you have aside and just be focused on that one person that you're talking to or the group of people that you're talking to. The next most important thing is to
तो
try
बहुत ही
and make
महत्वपूर्ण बात है
yourself and
कि
the other
आप
person
अपने आप
comfortable in
को
the interaction
ऐसे
that you're
बनाइए
having.
कि लोग
Right? And it's very easy to do that. And how do you do that? Have an icebreaker, talk to them, ask them about their life, or maybe you don't want to go personal, just go asking them about the city that they are from. We are going to get to that, right? Like in terms of good communication skills. The next important thing is, like she also said, Madhavi just said a while ago, right? Make sure that the body should be towards the person, because you're also showing interest, you're showing intrigue, and then they'll feel accepted, wanted. Also, maintain eye contact because you're developing respect. The moment your eyes are all over the place, people are not going to trust you at all. Also, allow the other person to express themselves, right? Most of the times, people find it very hard to be heard, right? The moment you show that you're providing a safe space for them to talk about themselves, they would open up to you better. Now, also give visual or verbal encouragers, which in other words would be like, yes, go on. You're nodding your head. You're saying, yes, of course. And, you're just encouraging them to continue the conversation. The moment you shake your head, they feel, yeah, okay, this is motivating for me to continue this conversation and express myself. The next is reflect feelings. Right? When you're talking about, probably what they are going through, you're also showing a certain amount of empathy, right? You're also showing a certain amount of emotional intelligence. When you're in an industry where you are dealing with so many people, it's very important to be emotionally intelligent. You're putting yourself in the other person's shoe, and you're showing them that you're able to understand where they are coming from. Paraphrasing is important. We are going to be talking about paraphrasing. That is when you are just basically talking about, hey, yeah, this is what I gather. This is what you're trying to say. That shows that, yeah, you're very attentive to what they're saying. The next is, if at all you want to just clarify something. So you mean to say, this is how you can say, seek confirmation. So this is what you meant when you said this. That's how you're building on the conversation. Now, respond appropriately, right? Whenever they are talking, instead of constantly like trying to contradict themselves, hear people out, right? As much as we all want to give our perspectives, important to respond in an appropriate manner, right? Also, the diplomacy plays a very important role in certain situations. Now, paraphrasing is very, very essential, especially when you are in a formal situation or somebody whom you don't know that you're interacting with. Right? So it's nothing but restating what the other person has said in your own words, right? So listen carefully to the information, what is unsaid, what is the emotion, and also restate it in your own words, capturing the essence, right? Also, you're showing feeling, you're also removing any sort of a negative connotation. Now, some of the examples of paraphrasing would be, one, you can say things like, oh, in other words, you mean to say, right? I gather that, right? These are words that you can use, especially in your conversation. If I understand what you are saying, right? Or what I hear you saying is, or pardon my interruption, but let me see if I'm able to understand you correctly, right? So sometimes, especially when you are not very sure, you can seek confirmation and just say that, yeah, is this what I've understood, or are we on the same page, right? Summarizing is similar to paraphrasing. You're just summarizing everything that they have said. So just the key points of the speaker, shorter version of what they have said. It can also be used to recap, to highlight, to emphasize some of the key points, right? You can begin with phrases like, if I understand you correctly, your main concerns are so and so, right? Or these seem to be the key ideas, what you have expressed. So that means you're also reinforcing what they have said, and at the same time, you are retaining what they have told you, so that you will always remember it. So that tomorrow, if they come back to you, you will not be like, oh, I don't remember what you said, right? Now, when it comes to interpersonal communications, especially when it's got to do with your workplace, right? Or the activities, one of the biggest and the most important aspects that I always talk about whenever I'm doing the communication skills sessions, I always talk about what is called as small talk. Now, small talk is nothing but an informal discussion, usually among people who have probably just met, who do not know each other very well, right? Now, small talk again is very important when it comes to rapport building, right? And of course, it takes practice. It is learned over a period of time, and you should start doing small talk in different situations, whether you are at a networking event, whether you are at a formal meet, wherever you are, you've traveled abroad. Just try. It's also another way of making yourself comfortable and breaking the ice with the other person, right? So some of the common topics that you can try and go in for, especially when you want to start a conversation with somebody, is weather. These are very, very generic topics, especially if somebody's come from another place and you have just stood there and you've just introduced yourself to them. You can always say, so when did you come in? So have you come to Bangalore first, or wherever, whichever city you're from? I'm from Bangalore, that's why I'm talking about Bangalore. So how do you find the weather in Bangalore? Again, do you like the venue? So again, what do you do in your spare time? I know it must be a very hectic schedule that you must be having. Also, you can give a genuine compliment. So if somebody has just delivered a speech, you can say, of course, I love the way you spoke. I love the topics that you were talking about. I could, of course, resonate with it, right? So you can always, this sets the ball rolling, and this is how you can actually make the other person comfortable. Now, some of the topics that you should ideally avoid in your conversations with somebody would be politics, religion, anything that is very controversial, obscene, racial, or anything that is personal. Avoid getting into the personal space unless and until you know the person very well, or you've had a couple of interactions with them. So the beginning should always be about weather, about the city, about the climate, or about the geographical location, whatever it is, but something that is very generic. Now, the next most important aspect when it comes to communication skills would be assertive communication, right? When you are communicating, whether you're communicating with your customers, with clients, with anybody, with your peers in the organization, it's important to maintain what is called as assertiveness. That is, in other words, being somebody who's very confident, who's very honest in their communication and very certain of what they are saying, right? So you are stating your needs, your opinions very clearly, right? So that people take notice of what you're trying to say. Also, you're very confident about what you have to say, what your belief system is, and what you do. Now, a lot of times what happens is in scenarios, people tend to be borderline aggressive when they want to communicate something and they really want to be like, I need to tell you what I have to tell you, right? Or I think whatever I'm trying to tell you, why aren't you able to understand that, right? So it's very important to maintain that tone of assertiveness, but at the same time, not get into the aggressive mood. You cannot force people to listen to you. Also, another thing that is not good is to be passive. That is not expressing your opinions clearly. Where you say you're agreeable to everything, especially when you're not feeling like that from within. And then there are those people who are passive aggressive, right? Externally passive, but internally aggressive. And then suddenly, probably they might lash out when you least expect it. So it's important that in any scenario, whether it's a professional scenario or a social or a personal scenario, try and be as assertive as you can so that people will also be able to respect you. They will also be able to understand where you're coming from and you come across as an honest person, right? So, of course, I would love Madhavi's perspective on communication and, of course, assertiveness. I'm sure you would have some very interesting facts to share with us.
Thank you, Sonia. Of course, communication is the backbone of what we do, because every single day we deal with lots of people, and everything revolves around our capacity and skills of communicating effectively. So communication, I feel, can be starting at the beginning level, improving and working towards improving your one-on-one communication skill.
Yes.
So everyone on this call, by now that they have reached to that level of TAP team, top achievers in business, they have developed a level of communication, and they are very confident about dealing on one-on-one basis. Then it goes from that next level of communication command that we need to build is from one person, single person, individual to group. So while we form a group of consumers or group of our coaches, and we deal with them, we interact with them, we coach them, we mentor them, we work with them. So there is a next skill set required, and next level of confidence, and next level of approach is required when we are dealing with a group of people simultaneously. And I think the next to that next degree to that would be one to many. That means probably when one becomes a public speaker and he or she goes on stage, whether online or offline scenario, and they're talking to many people, and they're giving a session, or maybe giving a proper training program, guiding people, handling queries, and supporting people in their growth journey. So at every level, as we keep doing things, we get better. So
Yes.
about communication, I feel whatever language it may be, because I was checking on the chat, some people are struggling with language because initially there was some glitch in Hindi translation. So
Okay.
I want to really request, and please don't take it too hard, to everyone on the call, please try to make effort to learn one more language which can actually enhance your capacity to reach to a bigger audience for your own business growth. Of course, we can do the business in our own local language, and
Yes.
Herbalife supports us, whether in India or globally we go. We can hear the trainings in translation mode. But if we can make an effort and enhance our
Yes.
capacity to learn a new language which is widely accepted, probably something like English or Hindi, that can also help. Without learning we can still do it, but I just want to mention that being open minded is very important when it comes to communication. And whatever language try to pick up, do reading. This is what my recommendation is, and these are the basics of communication that we learn. If we do reading on topics of personal development, leadership, body language, there is so many self-help books available. If we read, our vocabulary, our language becomes refined. More we read, and now we have Audible and audio books available, so more we are exposed to information, and everything that we want to grow is available. If we read, we can give better content to our audience. So I would recommend that yes, communication is the most important aspect, and we all need to make that effort to learn. And these are tips which were so important, Sonia, that you talked about. And being assertive does not mean being rude. In
Yes.
Hindi they say move fat. Okay, whatever
Yes.
comes to your mind, you are speaking. In
Yes.
a business like us, we are in people's business, and we want to, even though we want to tell them the truth on their face, but there is a way to express it without hurting the sentiments of someone who that is sitting across. So absolutely it is necessary to communicate things in right way. But at the same time, being in a profession where we are dealing with lot of people, so learning and upgrading and fine tuning our own capacity to express, that can make huge difference. So we say learn, practice, and master any skill. And if we work on communication, we can actually take care of doing everything better, whether we are doing our retail part of business, recruiting, sponsoring, coaching, mentoring, whatever we do, even training on stage, off stage, we all can get better with that. So this is one thing we need to all work on, is attain more trainings of Herbalife, of course, where we can really learn from our seniors. At the same time, do reading. As leaders are readers. Leaders need to read more, and every single day you need to take out time. Now we have this global program, we are doing Flex 45 program. It includes reading as a part of our daily ritual, and I want to remind leaders to do read, because that will help you to build your language and communication way better. Okay, so that's it which I want to share. And of course, Sonia will move on with the next
Yes.
part of the session.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Madhavi, for your perspective. I think that's very, very invaluable because very important for us to keep learning and growing and reading. I think reading really helps in widening the horizons. And at the end of the day, all of us want to widen our horizons. And we are in an industry which is very common. We have to be very diplomatic in the way we deal with people. These are very sensitive issues, especially when it comes to wellness and healthcare and everything. So we have to be very mindful of how people's sentiments are, and we should not ultimately end up hurting them. So the next very interesting module is on cross-culture sensitivity, and this is for all of us. This is something that we have to keep learning and imbibing. A lot of us keep traveling to international destinations sorry, my phone starts. There's some test message which keeps coming. But when we all keep traveling and we go to so many international destinations, it's very important that there is a certain amount of cross-culture sensitivity, right? In terms of understanding the country that we are visiting, also having the right kind of knowledge and awareness when it comes to that particular country. It's important to be embracing local customs. And that is important because especially when you're representing your company, right? It has to be in accordance with the brand values of the companies, right? But at the end of the day, that is going to open doors to more authentic and rewarding travel experiences, right? So some of the things that I'm going to be sharing today when it comes to global etiquette, we need to remember one thing, that the Western and Eastern cues have, especially the countries, have very different meanings, whatever in terms of the communication aspect. So especially in Western cultures, the word yes means agreement. Whereas in the Eastern culture, the word yes means that the message has been understood, but it's not necessary that the person agrees with it. Right? Now, a handshake is considered like a solid contract in some cultures, while in business negotiations in some Eastern cultures, a period of silence often signifies that they are probably not very certain about the business proposal, right? Or they might probably be showing some sort of displeasure. Now, when it comes to space, we did speak about space. Now, that is something that has an impact on business interactions a lot. Right? For example, Americans are very comfortable doing business at an arm's length, right? With a certain amount of distance. Now, other cultures do not mind standing shoulder to shoulder with their peers. And for example, in Russia, female colleagues will often walk arm in arm, whereas in other cultures, this is not acceptable, right? Like there is a certain amount of hierarchy that is maintained in certain cultures. Now, certain things we all should keep in mind, whichever country that we are traveling to, right? One thing I always try to do is that I try to read up about a particular country or a culture before I'm traveling there, when it comes to certain do's and don'ts, certain norms, especially when the country is very high on culture. Right now, I think it also shows a lot of respect towards the other culture or the country and to the people that you're going and associating with, because also we are not only, if we are going by virtue of representing our company, of course we are representing the brand values of the company. One is that even if we are going on this personal capacity, we are going on a holiday, it also speaks volumes about the culture that we represent. And since India is a country which is very high on culture, we should also create a certain kind of a consistent image, right? By respecting the other country's culture. So the first and foremost thing is try and learn certain words which are akin to that particular country, right? Like making an effort to learn words like hello, please, thank you, excuse me in the local language. Now, this is a powerful sign of respect. The next is the clothing choices, right? That can convey respect or disrespect. So some countries are very high on culture, right? Like in terms of the religious aspect. Sometimes you have to cover your head when you're visiting a religious site, or you might have to cover the legs. Just make sure you adhere to those aspects when it comes to visiting temples, churches, or mosques. The third thing is, we talked about body language, we talked about gestures, but certain non-verbal aspects or gestures, they differ from country to country. So thumbs up okay signs, or even eye contact, or physical contact, or personal space are very different in different countries. So especially places like countries like Japan is extremely high on culture. So you have to be very mindful, especially when you're doing a business association. Think of each and every, like every move of yours is going to be noticed and judged, right? Even as a traveler, you want to respect the fact that they are very high when in terms of maintaining cleanliness and orderliness, right? You don't want to make a lot of noise. You don't want to be speaking loud in public. And in a lot of countries in the Western culture, people don't appreciate other people speaking loudly. So you have to be very mindful of that. Now, I remember Madhavi was also talking about, taking pictures in some of the conventions or conferences that you have, but also in other countries. It's important to be mindful about taking pictures in those countries, right? So if you go to a sacred site, just see whether you're allowed to take pictures. Or if you want to take pictures of random people, again, be mindful, ask permission before you take pictures, right? Now, when it comes to tipping, you go to a restaurant. Again, tipping differs from country to country. Now, in the US, it's pretty much 15 to 25% of the overall bill. Right now, that is especially if the service has been excellent. If it's not, you're not too happy with it. You're still going to tip, but it'll be probably 10%. Now, some cultures like Japan and China, they do not like tipping. So you should never go and try to tip them because it can be considered as offensive. Now, when it comes to table manners, extremely important, you have to maintain what we call as dining etiquette. So respect the meal customs. In some, especially in some cultures, it also shows a lot of politeness when you are waiting for the host or the eldest person in the group to start eating before you start eating your meal. Also try and use the correct hand, especially the right hand while eating with hands. Handle your utensils appropriately, especially when you're using a fork and a knife, or when you are eating with chopsticks. Follow the rules. And one of the most important things that I always tell people when I'm doing these sessions is about following queue etiquette, or what we call as etiquette. Right now, again, the West is very conscientious when it comes to standing in queues. So when you're probably in an airport, you're in a bus terminal or in a train terminal, or even in a takeaway restaurant which has self-service, please be mindful of respecting the queues and do not rush to the spot to have by having this be first attitude that I need my things first. Right? In India, a lot of it happens, but I think if we maintain it in India, I think the world will be a better place. But I think especially when we go abroad, be very mindful of maintaining the whole queue etiquette and respecting people and their space. So this is about global etiquette. Madhavi, over to you. I would love to hear what your thoughts are on this.
This is so interesting, and I hope everyone, I can see people writing in the chat in the Q&A section a lot of inputs, and that they're learning, and we're happy that you're taking notes. I definitely want to say something, what Sonia said, I totally agree. Indians, we are more, I feel we are more outgoing and social people, and we travel with groups. Usually we go with family, or in a company events or for company programs, we go as a big group, and we are generally excited and we want to explore the place and we want to be everywhere. But something that we need to really take care while we move out, not to be very loud and disturbing the public ambience overall, because many times that we are going in a group and we are trying to talk to someone who is probably on the other side in the airport, and maybe we are shouting, taking, screaming names. And so I think we have to be mindful when we especially go out and we are carrying, when we are wearing Herbalife brand as such, many times, not even going international, I'm talking about within India also, within our country, when we go to some 5-star places and we go to a better, locations, when we are wearing the brand, maybe Herbalife t-shirt or a Herbalife button, and people look at us, people are identifying, for them we are Herbalife because we are wearing so-called Herbalife uniform. And it's very important that we create that right image. And something very basic that I learned in about etiquettes is, whenever we come to event also we were taught, and as leaders on this call I want to mention, all of us, we organize meetings in different places, sometimes in a small hotel, some banquet halls, some convention centers within our city for our teams. So I want to request, please make sure that you take care of that venue as if it's like your own home. So how we take care of small details, and we don't want to dirty it, right? And this is what we learned. Every time you come to a venue, you leave it better than it was before, how it was handed over to you. So no spilling, no throwing some garbage here and there. Of course we don't do it, but we being leader, if we communicate this from stage and we create this kind of culture within even our team. Of course in big events company takes care very well, but whenever we are doing these small events in different cities, small places, what your behavior creates public image. So please take care of giving good impression. When you're going on in your cars with Herbalife sticker on it, okay, where you put Herbalife sticker on it, so make sure that in public, while you are going with Herbalife brand, you are creating a right impression and not throwing things out of the car. And these are small things. I know everyone takes care, but absolutely it is must that while we are wearing the brand, we are representing something larger and bigger than us. Okay, and we really want to leave a good impression. A simple example I would tell you is a soldier who is wearing a uniform. Once the uniform is on, he is not thinking about his probably last month's salary check, and he's not thinking about his personal things. He's thinking for country, and he is working for that mission. Okay, that is his focus. His priorities are different when he is with his uniform. So for us, when we are wearing brand and when we are representing Herbalife, even within our cities and wherever we go, we have to be mindful how we behave, what kind of impression we create, and not pick fights with on small matters, not do unnecessary arguments. Okay, and really leave good impression on people's mind. How when they deal with Herbalifers, they are the wow people. That's what every person at the venue, wherever you go, you leave that impression on people's mind, and that is going to build a great reputation for you and your generations, because we are here not for a month or a year. We are here for herbal life. We are here for life. And in our system, right, our next generation is already doing business. So many families are doing this. So I really want to tell you, our next generation in business, we want to keep the business clean, and we want to make sure that we create the right brand image by our behavior. Please don't complain, and don't gossip when you are in events or wherever you go as leaders, because whatever you do, it's going to be magnified and seen around. Okay, so please take care. And of course, on the global perspective, whenever we travel, this is something which we always do. We check what is going to be the weather condition at the destination, and based on that we do packing. Because if you go to US at different times of the year, the temperatures and the weather conditions will be different, and you need to pack accordingly. So this is something for the first time travelers, I want to say, because many times we are just excited and we want to wear this clothes and that clothes, but we need to know what is appropriate based on the climatical situation, and plan and pack accordingly. And certainly based on the kind of event we attend, when we go to bigger trainings and events or vacation, accordingly we do our packing. And there are occasions where we have red carpet events, so we need to do that special planning and packing, based on the scenario also. So this is something I feel, that we being a global organization, we travel a lot within India and globally. So being prepared, and base vaisa base jo kehte hain, what it being prepared. When you are in Rome, be Roman. So we need to be prepared accordingly, and that makes a huge difference in the impression that you create in people's mind. Thank you. And yes, Sonia, I hope I'm in alignment with what you're talking about here.
Absolutely. You're very much in alignment, and I love your perspectives. In fact, yes, it's important to think about the planning and the
कहा कि
clothes that
तैयारी
you will
करना
be wearing, especially the climatic conditions of the country. And it's also to be conforming to the standards and the way people are and the mannerisms. It's another way of expanding your horizons because you're respecting the culture. You're also learning so much about yourself, about them. So you're also being very mindful.
సో మీరు ఎప్పుడు మైండ్ఫుల్ గా ఉండాలి. సో మీరు
especially as a culture. And of course, when you're representing your company or your brand, it's very important to keep all these in mind because you have an added responsibility on your shoulders, right? So moving on, one of the important modules that we are going to be talking about is public speaking, how to communicate effectively. Now, I really don't feel that there is any hard and fast rule that you should typically maintain because whenever you are speaking to a gathering or an audience, you need to make sure that there is a certain amount of your personality that comes into your speech, right? It has to come naturally. Now, some people are, born naturally like very good orators, while some people acquire it. But I just feel that it's an acquired skill set, right? Like the more you practice, the better you get. Especially when you know that you are going to be delivering a speech. It's important to start making notes or preparing your speech, but at the same time, you don't want to be reading from a piece of paper because that just doesn't come across as authentic. Now, always remember, before you plan your speech, think about how important a book's first paragraph is. Only when the first paragraph is very intriguing, that's when you're going to continue reading the book. Right? Similarly, that's how your speech is going to be. And always remember one thing, that people have an attention span of 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes of your speech, and if it's that much, then it's great because they'll be glued to your talk. You need to try and make it so interesting that they are constantly glued. They really want to listen to you further, right? How do you start preparing your speech, right? Like you can either start by quoting a particular anecdote, or you can basically state a headline or a fact or a statistic, right? Or you can even have something, you can do a storytelling thing with you can just start by walking into stage and, when I was in this country, this is how you can start, right? Because that becomes very interesting to the audience. Somewhere it will also resonate with them. So always, whatever story that you're planning to talk about, make sure it's connected with the speech or the talk that you're delivering. Now, some of the tips that you should always keep in mind, right? Like every presentation should be approached differently from how it is done otherwise, right? That keeps you coming across as somebody who is very different in the way they speak. Sometimes you can even stand in front of your audience and stay quiet, or you can do something unusual by, like showing your back towards them and don't speak. And then suddenly then you turn, you say something and then you turn, right? Something that is relating to your audience. Of course, it's very important to prepare your speech. Make random eye contact. And that is one of the best qualities of a speaker. So when you're talking to every part of your audience, right? Like you're looking at the left, you're looking in the middle, and then you're looking at the right, and you're always coming back to that one particular friendly face or friendly gaze who's nodding, who's smiling at you, because that is going to be your motivator to keep speaking properly, right? And it's going to give you that confidence constantly because you know that there is somebody who's really appreciating what you're talking about, right? So look at everybody and come back to that one friendly person because you know that they are supporting you. Now, some of the things that we need to keep in mind is besides, establishing and constantly keeping eye contact, it's also that you want to create a friendly atmosphere with your audience. So what you can do is start off with like small talk. That is your icebreaker. When you enter the stage and you already see people sitting, just talk very casually with them, be very friendly. Automatically, they will thaw. Automatically they'll resonate with you, they would want to listen to you, they would want to probably even interact with you and maybe ask you questions later on. So it also makes you feel lighter, it makes you feel even more confident because a lot of orators, and I've heard this from a lot of orators, they say that whenever we go, before we walk onto the stage, we do have like those 2 minutes of butterflies in our stomach. Now, for that, of course, you can do centering exercises, you can do breath work, you can breathe in and breathe out, do some calming meditation before you reach the venue, so that you feel very calm. But I think one of the most easiest ways of actually feeling very confident is just become friendly with the audience and do some informal talk before you start your speech. Automatically, that changes the entire vibe, right? Now, some of the things when it comes to communication is very important to keep in mind would be make pauses from time to time in your speech, especially when you're saying something that is very impactful. Now, if I say something like, hey, it takes 3 to 5 seconds to create a first impression in somebody's mind, after that, I need to pause, because this will enable you to internalize, incorporate what I'm trying to say, or even digest what I have to say. Right? And if you feel that you're somebody who's very humorous, you can always bring in humor in your speech, right? Say something funny at the spur of the moment. It need not be planned. The moment it is very planned, it just looks like you're just like talking verbatim from your speech, right? And I think a very good quality for a speaker to have is to crave feedback. So at the end of the talk, especially if you're giving you can always hand out some forms and ask people for feedback. Or even if you're having a discussion with the audience, you can always ask for feedback, because that just shows that you're very open to learning new things, you're very open to growing as well, right? So of course, public speaking is a very big format and it takes a while to understand it better, but I think these, as long as you keep these tips in mind, you can of course become a very good orator. But always remember one thing: the more you practice, try and get opportunities to practice your talking so that you can work on your talking skills, right? Never be hesitant. Just walk there confidently, because you're imparting knowledge to people who are ready to receive. So that is why you have all the more reason to be very confident. So I'm just going to quickly hand it over to Madhavi before we proceed on to our last module. I would love to hear your thoughts.
Thank you, Sonia. Of course, public speaking is a very important part of our day-to-day life, all the leaders on this call. And whether we are doing online or offline meetings, we are constantly doing some kind of presentation to the group of people. And there are few basics that I learned from my mentor, and I learned from people who are successful about public speaking in case of Herbalife kind of situation. Number one is your appearance, because well begun is half done. So if you are well dressed, if you already planned and dressed according to while you go on stage, whether it is online and offline, dressing, power dressing makes a huge difference. It builds confidence to whatever you are saying. That visual appeal is there. Not only looking good, but smell good and feel good will happen if you are prepared well. But even while sitting in a meeting now, I still have use my perfume, because that is a part of getting ready for any meeting. And that puts me in zone. So it is absolutely necessary that you do your steps before going for any kind of session, and maybe that kind of topic you're done prior, and you are confident because your PPT, your slides are ready, you have done it dozens or hundreds of times. But still, prepping your mind and running through the sequence is absolutely important. Going through the presentation even before starting the session, we do it even today after being 25 years in a system. Okay, so absolutely it is important to prepare well. If you are looking good and if your already presentation is prepared in background, great. Some of us are not comfortable with this audio visual kind of PPT presentation slides, but it's important that you learn to get familiar with the technology. If you're doing online meeting and you don't know how to share the presentation, or maybe run a video that you want to show in between, if you are not confident, ask for help. But learn this. This is an important skill which will make your life easier, and you don't have to depend on someone else to support you in every single meeting. As leader, learn it. Invest in upgrading this skill. Every tap team should have their own functional laptop, because we do run a lot of online meetings. So you should be having, technological knowledge and technology setup, which is required to run your day-to-day business. Beyond it, about speaking on stage, as I said, whether it is local or regional or national, or beyond that, it is everyone's goal to be a speaker and to be recognized and to receive that kind of recognition on a bigger platform. Something which is very important is focus on creating result, because only when you are someone who is creating result and you are delivering the message, you will be given opportunity. Okay, you will be chosen by your leaders, by corporate, if you are delivering the message, because you are a good producer and you are doing volumes or turnovers. But when you are put on stage, you are not doing justice to the stage, because stage is a sacred place. I feel when we go on stage, we are not representing ourselves, we are representing Mark Hughes, we are messengers of Mark Hughes. So every time we have to remind ourselves that there are so many people who are sitting in the room while we are speaking, and we don't want to waste their time and don't want to talk something out of context which is not going to add value. Remember, we get paid for adding value to the marketplace. So especially when it is your customer, your team members, you definitely add value. But especially in an event where there are sidelines and there are more other people sitting, you have to be even more particular on delivering even your best of the best presentation, because so many other people's time and life are connected with what you're going to deliver. So respecting that opportunity that we have got whenever we are given stage, and doing our best and not taking it casually, that really matters. Having that intention to deliver best message, preparing well, using right appropriate language, whatever language you might speak, but using clean language and not swearing or not using any bad language on stage, which is a thumb rule. Okay, so absolutely it is necessary not to have heavy meals before going on stage. If you are a speaker in a bigger event and you're going to be speaking post lunch break, I don't eat lunch. Okay, I have my one more shake. Okay, this has been the practice thanks to my mentor David. We have been doing this always, so that adds not having carbohydrates, it gives us more energy. Having that extra fresh, more shake. I'm having lift of more Herbalife products right now. So this is what I really want to say. Don't eat heavy meals which will pull down your energy. You can be, because we require energy, excitement, mental focus and alertness while we deliver. And of course, do your homework right, then you will be at ease when you have to speak. Eye contact is very important. Like initially when you are a beginner and you feel nervous on stage, look at that smiling face. Especially the front rows are top leaders, so they will always and if you are sitting there and if the speaker is looking at you, nod. Okay, because that in our kind of community, when you're nodding and you are approve, you are kind of say affirmative body language to them, the speaker gets confidence. Okay, so please remember, look for that positive face in the crowd and speak to them if you are feeling nervous. But after a while, it is all about practice. Like how Sonia said, more time you go on stage, you are at ease. I remember going on stage in my initial days, I forgot my name, and I'm sure there are people who will be like me, who were disaster in their initial presentations. And like we say, every master was once a disaster. So every president team who talk fluently today, we have done all the set of mistakes in initial journey, and we're not all of us were confident. Of course, there are some who were always great, but there are many of us who came out of trainings and learnings and practicing. It is all about practicing and staying consistent in the system, and willing to learn can make all the difference. Okay, so public speaking, again, as Sonia said, it's so exciting, because it gives you that special power when you can stand there in front of people and speak. Because it's said that public speaking fear is like fear of death for many people. They just freeze when they go on stage, and this is one area where we can really make effort, and day-to-day basis we have this opportunity to go and speak in public. That brings power. And I feel always to at back of our mind, we have to remember that it's an opportunity that we have got. So it is not something to take ego and build ego about, but it is a opportunity to serve more people, to add value in people's life, because you never know who is sitting in the audience. And just because of you speaking some line or something specific, you change the perspective of that person towards business, towards life. And down the line somewhere you will get people to come and thank you, okay, whether from your organization or not, for your contribution. Okay, so we are messengers, and we have to focus on delivering the right message wherever we are given chance, to speak, whether online or offline. So thank you. And I think, Sonia, you want to continue with the last part of our module.
Yes. Thank you. And like you said, it's very important to look and play the part. And very beautiful insights that you have given, Madhavi. So moving on, by virtue of time constraints, I am just going to quickly move on to the last segment of today's session, which is all about personal branding. Now, at the end of the day, we are all looking at being brands in ourselves within the overall brand of our organization, right? What is the meaning of your leadership brand at the end of the day? Now, as much as, of course, when you're talking about the brand that you are representing, as much as the visual aspect, the visibility is very important, but certain aspects we need to really keep in mind is, one is authenticity, the values that we are conforming with regard to our organization, the impact that we are creating through our brand, right? How are we creating the impact? So we are so many people from different parts of the country, and we are talking about one brand, right? How are we communicating it to the outside world? So it's very important that when you are thinking of communicating yourself also as a personal brand, and in the larger perspective, in the larger scheme of things of your own brand, are you talking or are you communicating in an authentic manner? Right? So the 5 C's of personal branding are very important for all of us to keep in mind. The first and foremost thing is, when you're talking about your brand, you need to craft content that typically aligns with the professional goals of your brand, of your company, right? And it has to be content that is relatable, that is very authentic, that is very real. Right? So you have to strategically talk about, if you're talking about wellness, you're talking about lifestyle, you need to create content around that and put it across on social media. Now, one thing we all need to keep in mind, that we are so lucky that social media, we have so many different platforms through which we can communicate, right? But it's important to communicate effectively. The second most important thing is, whenever you're regularly presenting yourself in a professional manner, regularly talking about your brand, you're consistently posting, you're also retaining in people's memory, right? So whether it's online, whether it's offline, you have to consistently talk about it, because you're also marketing your brand in the right manner. The next most important thing is building credibility. And in other words, we have talked about authenticity. Through, when you show authenticity, automatically people will look at you as somebody who's a front runner. When you are showing live examples of the people that you have worked with, of the success stories that you're bringing in, people will be able to feel that you are a credible brand in yourself, right? You're also putting up blog posts as somebody who's a knowledgeable or a trustworthy leader, who's aware and who has been in the industry, or who's been a stalwart in the industry, right? The next is building a connection, again through social media, right? You build meaningful relationships with the people that you're connected with, whether it's via LinkedIn, whether it's via Instagram, Facebook, whatever, or even Twitter for that matter. Now, when people put up posts, so it's not only about you putting up posts, it's also about how you respond to people's posts and how are you engaging with the audience. That's how you're building a meaningful connection. The last most important aspect is confidence. So when you come across as somebody who's very assertive, very sure of what you're talking about, automatically that will show that you are a very a responsible and a very credible brand. Right? So these are the 5 different aspects that we all need to keep in mind, especially when we are projecting ourselves as a personal brand. Now, the next most important thing is to be talking about our company in a manner where you are consistent to the company's brand vision, the mission, the message that you are communicating, as well as the personality type, right? So when it comes to the vision of your company, you are projecting yourselves as a premier health and wellness community, a company, or a platform. So when you're talking about that, all your content has to be something that is from the long-term perspective, right? And how are you working on that whole professional trajectory of consistently posting things that are in tandem with the brand vision, right? And how are you moving ahead? How are you dynamic, right? The next is the mission. What do you want to build through your organization or through your company? You want to, of course, empower connections between wellness entrepreneurs, wellness coaches, people pursuing healthier, better lives. Now, for example, you want to talk about even technology or the new different products which are great, where you have advanced products. Also, you want to bring in, you want to empower young people, right, who will be able to connect with your brand, right? So your whatever mission that you're projecting through your content, the strategy, you need to make sure that you're bridging that gap, right? Like between young entrepreneurs as well as the whole innovation that you're bringing in. You're also moving with the times and you're catering to the young people or the young society, right? Again, what is the key message that you want to keep reinforcing? The fact that you want people to live healthier lives, right? And by accessing your products, they are going to be able to lead better lives, or again, lead better versions of their lives, right? So that message should be always underlying, especially when you are putting up content, right? Now, when I say that you can be a personal brand within your whole brand company, because we have so many different people who are from so many different walks of life, you can show your personality through your brand. Now, if you're somebody who is very funny, very witty, very quirky, you can also dress up in the same manner, right? And also talk about your brand. Like you're somebody who's very creative, so dress up in that manner and also talk about how your brand is. You're talking about a wellness brand. Or if you're somebody who's very serious, then you bring in classic dressing, right? You need to make sure that you are assimilating very beautifully or harmoniously with your brand, right? So always your visual branding, whatever it is in the form of the social media content that you're putting up or the stationery or design materials, everything should be in tandem with the vision, the mission, the message that you're communicating of your company. And also you're bringing in a certain personality type of yours into whatever you're talking about, right? So at the end of the day, when you're promoting yourself, these three important aspects need to be there. You need to package yourself right, position your company in the right manner, and engage with the audience. And how do you do that? The first and foremost thing is networking. Networking is a huge and a very important aspect, especially when you want to build your client base, right? Word of mouth also plays a very important role, because I have built my client base through word of mouth as well. Social media, yes, of course, it's become very easy for us to project our brands in the right manner and to keep talking about it. So, of course, you can do it in different ways. You can have reels, you can have, you can put up blog posts, you can put up, you can have like so many offers that you're promoting. You can put it all up on social media, and people are only willing to actually absorb and access it. And the last most important thing is look for opportunities to train. And of course, training and engagements is very important, where you are looking at opportunities, you're looking at meets where you can actually go and talk about your brand. So always, there will always be opportunities for you to go and actually access them. It's just about keeping your eyes and ears open and being very alert. So I'm not going to take too much of your time. I'm going to hand it over quickly to Madhavi. So this is where the module concludes, and I would love to hear your thoughts, Madhavi.
Thank you, Sonia. Wow, what an amazing session we have had. And I can see people have been taking notes and asking queries. And yeah, we have received some queries on the chat. Here, I really want to end this summarizing what queries we got. A lot of queries are to do with eye contacts. People who want to know a bit more about eye contact, how to maintain eye contact, and how, because many people feel uncomfortable with maintaining eye contact with someone they're meeting for the first time. So any suggestions or any tips this is what has been received as a query. Sonia, you want to say something here about it?
Absolutely. So, eye contact is something that you don't have to be continuously gazing at the person, and it should not be like you don't blink, right? When you're talking, when you're putting forth an opinion, you should just keep looking and you can nod, right? You should not be looking here, there, everywhere. I think it's very important that don't have like that power gaze, but just have a very soft and a subtle gaze. But when you maintain eye contact, you will also become comfortable and they will also feel that you're respecting them, right? So you can always, of course, look and you can talk and you can, of course, nod and even give your own opinion simultaneously, so that then you're also not feeling like very uncomfortable because you feel like you're constantly staring at them. And I think a lot of ladies also feel a little unsure of, should I keep looking when I'm talking to a man? Of course, you should talk, because again, please remember one thing, that in a professional scenario, it's a gender neutral scenario, right? Men and women are considered alike. And hence, when you're talking, it is important, build on it and build on it with your peers, because the more you do it, the lesser uncomfortable you're going to be.
Thank you, Sonia. Of course, also, I would like to mention that we do in the initial part of our career, especially those who have not come from any professional backgrounds or who have not even done any kind of jobs before. Maybe they're qualified, but they have not done any kind of job and professionally engaged in any kind of work. So I do understand initially there is hesitation. I do recommend to do hands-on training with your, coach, your leader. At the same time, go with the best way to overcome fear of approaching unknown people. And like people are asking queries here about also invitation, when people have hesitation to go and approach and hand over the invitation or visiting card to someone that they really want to talk and invite them to the their providing solution. So I would like to mention here is definitely try to do activity around group, and like we do home or a fresh parties or various scenarios where we do group activity where we work together with a couple of more people, so that awkwardness is not there. Initial awkwardness gets over because you are in a team, and that gives the confidence. In our initial days, this is what we did. When we want to overcome fear as leader, you take your new coach with you. Suddenly you will feel more confident because you want to show them the confidence. Okay, so I recommend that go out, and only when you go out and make that effort, you can overcome your fear and you can really come out as a winner. So about eye contact, about approaching unknown people, it is all about doing, practicing and doing it again and again, over and over again. Okay, so just to conclude here, I really want to say everything ultimately is about leading by example, because when we learn all these aspects of business that we heard today about communication, about appearance, about body language, about being representing the brand, being a personal brand, representing the brand which is a larger brand than us, globally. So while we do that, it's absolutely important to remind ourselves that we have to do our best every single day. There is nothing called as achieving perfection. I don't think that people who are even for a long time, anybody here is perfect. The goal is to do our best every single day, and the goal is to keep on working and improving on our skills, on our knowledge, in our behavior. Whatever we more exposure and learning we keep on, we learn. I think I personally read books, I watch podcasts now. Herbalife has got amazing trainings, which are constantly there. There are so much of resources available on our site. So much can be done as a leader. Whatever queries you might have, everything Herbalife has recorded and they have made it available. So we just need to go and see, people who are experienced and who are training us. So everything is available upfront. Just take advantage of that. Of course, I would like to mention this. Finally, our business is about duplication. So please make sure that our audio and our video should match. So whatever you are pitching, you should lead by example, by in literal way. So whatever you speak on stage, you should be the same person off stage. This is what I want to really remind everyone, because when you being a leader, you are authentic and you are being real with people, people will respect you. And ultimately, it is all about, when we really care for people and we really convey that to people, people will stay and they will sustain, they'll stay long term, retain with us. And that is how, the culture, right culture and long term, success is being built. Okay, so Sonia, here I really want to thank you for your amazing session, and you have
Thank you
really
so
added
much.
value to today's program by sharing so much of valuable tips. Okay, so I really want to thank you from on behalf of Herbalife community for coming over and doing this amazing, fabulous session. And we look forward, to everyone else on the call. I want to really mention that this is a series of training which our company is doing, and there will be more trainings on different subjects which will be adding value to the personal development aspect that we all are working towards. Last but not the least, I look forward to meeting you all in person in our India Leadership Retreat, which is coming up in month of August in Mumbai, and also to the Mastermind program. So please do not miss on attending this event. Qualify for the event if you are not still completed, and I look forward to seeing you all there. So thank you again, Sonia, on behalf of
Thank
Team
you.
Herbalife for joining in and sharing your
Madhavi.
knowledge.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me over. I thoroughly enjoyed the session, and thanks to you because you made it all the more enriching. And it was so much fun interacting with you and listening to your insights. I absorbed a lot from you as well. So thank you so much. It was lovely. And thank you all for being such a wonderful audience and being extremely patient. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and see you all.